My roommate gaslit me with fake screenshots to convince me that my crush was just using me. And when I finally broke things off with her, he had the nerve to post photos of them smiling together at a café like he'd won. Thinking I'd just stay quiet and let it go. From a young age, my upbringing was akin to training a prized animal. Achieving perfect scores brought praise, while anything less resulted in a chilling silence of disapproval. Your intellect is your sole valuable asset, was literally stitched onto a cushion in our lounge. So when Maya, a peer in my class, sought assistance with organic chemistry, my affirmative response was automatic. That subject was my domain. I was the human calculator everyone approached in desperation. Yet Maya was different. She genuinely desired to comprehend. She would arrive with 2 cups of coffee and remain until security ushered us out. This young woman had failed Argo twice but persistently returned. My housemate, Jake, considered me foolish for offering free tutoring. This was the same individual who rescued me during freshman year when my kleptomaniac housemate pilfered my calculator before exams. Jake appeared dependable. 6 months later, Maya transitioned from failing quizzes to earning B grades. And yes, I had developed feelings. She had this charming nose scrunch habit when tackling complex molecules. She began bringing me Red Bull after noticing my energy dip around 3 p.m. When she finally grasped reaction mechanisms, her entire expression transformed. But Jake continuously sowed seeds of doubt. She only contacts you for academic help. Or, isn't it odd how she's unavailable when you suggest meeting outside the library? These remarks gnawed at me. I eventually resolved to confess my feelings after our Thursday session. However, on Wednesday evening, Jake appeared with a troubled expression. You deserve to know, he stated, then presented screenshots from a group chat. Maya's name prominently displayed at the top. At least the tutoring is free and he's useful, but definitely not boyfriend material. I felt utterly exploited. I had observed Maya dressing more stylishly recently. It made sense now. She was likely meeting some other person after utilizing me. The next day, Maya entered with a container. I baked you cookies, extra chocolate chips. I struggled to process it. My mind screamed to escape. I can't tutor you anymore, I blurted out. Her face fell. What? Why? Useful but not boyfriend material, I retorted, watching the color drain from her face. What are you talking about? I gathered my belongings and declared, I'm finished being used. The bewilderment in her gaze almost pierced my anger, almost. But my wounded pride prevailed and I departed, leaving her clutching those homemade treats. For 2 weeks, I retreated into isolation, focusing solely on MCAT preparation. Jake was unusually supportive, asserting that I deserved someone who valued me. But something bothered me. Maya hadn't reached out even once. The girl who retook Argo 3 times suddenly gave up? At the end of the semester while packing, I discovered Jake's calculus notebook. Opening it, my mind reeled. The handwriting was flowing and rounded, distinctly feminine. Nothing like Jake's messy scrawl. My hands trembled as I retrieved my Argo notebook, where Maya had written practice problems, identical penmanship. I frantically flipped through Jake's notebooks, page after page filled with Maya's writing. She had been tutoring him in calculus. Jake entered, saw me surrounded by the evidence and turned ashen. Maya was tutoring you? I questioned. He attempted to act nonchalant. It doesn't alter what she said. I pressed. Those screenshots were fabricated, weren't they? His jaw tightened. I was protecting you. She wasn't good enough. You doctored them, I accused. She was helping you pass calculus in exchange for advice about me. His face flushed. You never make a move. Someone had to do something. By making me believe she was using me? I countered. He snatched his belongings and stormed out. That night, his Instagram story filled me with a desire to lash out. Him and Maya at a coffee shop. The next morning, they were Facebook official. I stared at my phone as if it had betrayed me. Jake hadn't thought she wasn't good enough. He had desired her for himself. I began composing messages to Maya, attaching screenshots of the proof, but then my phone vibrated. Don't even consider it, read a text from Jake. The next message was a photograph. Sophomore year, me holding a joint at a party. He texted, medical schools don't favor substance infractions. Your scholarship certainly won't. My scholarship included a morality clause. Any involvement with substances meant immediate termination. My parents would disown me. Just move on. We both got what we desired. So there I sat, with undeniable proof that my former housemate had manipulated us both simply to steal her. But he possessed the one thing that could obliterate my future. Maya posted a sentimental photo about discovering affection in unexpected places. I had every reason to expose him, but he held me captive. I spent 3 days fixated on that image on my phone. Jake knew precisely what he was doing. That scholarship was my lifeline. Without it, no medical school, no future. My parents would likely expel me. My father had made it abundantly clear. One misstep and I was on my own. But Maya's expression continued to haunt me, the bewilderment when I had hurled those deceitful words at her. She had baked me cookies. Who bakes cookies for someone they are merely using? I recalled her mentioning once that baking alleviated her anxiety. She must have been apprehensive. I couldn't sleep, replaying every interaction. The way she would light up when a concept clicked, how she would sketch benzene rings on napkins as we conversed, the time she stayed an extra hour just to help me prepare for my presentation even though she had an exam the following day, the way she remembered my lactose intolerance and always brought oat milk. None of that aligned with Jake's narrative. By day 4 I broke. I messaged Maya asking if we could speak. No reply. I attempted calling. It went straight to voicemail. I even visited her usual study locations. The corner table at the library, the bench outside the science building where she enjoyed reviewing flashcards. Nothing. Jake must have poisoned her against me. Well, good, I thought. Then I remembered something. Maya volunteered at the campus food bank every Saturday morning. I had once helped her carry donations when I encountered her struggling with boxes. She had mentioned she never missed a shift. Sure enough, Saturday at 7 a.m., there she was organizing canned goods, her hair in a messy bun, wearing an old chemistry department t-shirt. She saw me and her entire body tensed. I could see her deliberating whether to flee. I raised my hands as if surrendering, asking if we could just talk for 5 minutes. She looked at me as if I might attack, but she nodded. She informed her supervisor she needed a brief break. We stepped outside. The morning was chilly, and she wrapped her arms around herself. I pulled out my phone and showed her Jake's notebooks, her handwriting covering them. I explained how I had discovered them, how Jake had confessed to fabricating the screenshots. Her face cycled through about a dozen emotions. Confusion, realization, anger, then this terrible expression of hurt that tightened my chest. She asked why I had believed him so readily. Her voice was quiet, defeated. I didn't have a satisfactory answer, merely mumbled something about my insecurities, how I had always felt like the unappealing guy girls settled for when they needed academic assistance. She then revealed that Jake had approached her about calculus, claiming he wanted to surprise me by improving his grades, as I constantly worried about him failing out. She had been helping him for weeks. In exchange, he offered her advice on how to ask me out, helped her choose those sundresses, and told her I preferred vanilla perfume. My stomach plummeted. She had been planning to ask me out with the cookies. That's why she made them chocolate chip, because I had once mentioned they were my favorite. Jake knew. He had helped her plan it, then he destroyed it all. I wanted to tell her everything about the coercion, the photograph, how he was threatening to ruin my future. But Jake's menace echoed in my mind, so I simply stood there like an imbecile. Maya wiped her eyes and said she had to return. But first she inquired if Jake had threatened me. The girl was too perceptive. She scrutinized my face as if it were an organic chemistry problem I couldn't solve. She nodded as if that confirmed something. She said she had suspected Jake was up to something when he suddenly asked her out right after our argument. Too convenient. But she had been so hurt and confused, and Jake was there with explanations and solace. A classic rebound. She wasn't even certain why she had agreed, except that it hurt less than being alone. She walked away, and I felt like the world's greatest coward. I had proof my closest friend was a manipulative serpent, but I was too afraid to use it. That night I received another message from Jake. A reminder, the photo again. Stop talking to her. But something had shifted. Witnessing Maya's distress ignited a fire within me. This was no longer just about me. Jake had harmed her too, exploited her kindness, manipulated her emotions, turned her generosity into a weapon against both of us. I began strategizing. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of Jake's messages, photographs of his notebooks with Maya's handwriting. I even unearthed our old conversations where he encouraged me to doubt her. I built a file as if preparing for the world's most personal legal case. But that photograph loomed over everything like a brewing storm. Jake grew paranoid, constantly appearing at my room unannounced, checking if I was communicating with Maya. He would issue casual threats disguised as friendly reminders. Hope you're focusing on finals. Would hate for any distractions to mess up your future. Not very subtle. I played along, feigning defeat, allowing him to believe he had triumphed. Meanwhile, I was trying to figure out how to shield myself from that photo. I researched my scholarship terms until my eyes ached. The morality clause was ironclad. Even being in the vicinity of illicit substances could trigger a review. That one foolish hit sophomore year could end everything. Then I remembered something. My old housemate, the kleptomaniac who had stolen my calculator, Ralph. He had been at that party. In fact, he had been the one who brought the joint. I still had his number from when we had to coordinate moving out. A long shot but worth attempting. Ralph answered on the third ring, sounding intoxicated, typical. I asked if he recalled that party sophomore year. He chuckled, saying barely, but his then-girlfriend had taken countless photos. They had broken up, but he still had them on an old phone somewhere. He asked why I cared. I fabricated a story about needing proof I was there for a wager. He believed it because Ralph would believe anything if you said it involved money. He said he would look for the phone and text me. I assumed it was a dead end, but at least I was trying something. Meanwhile, Jake and Maya were engaged in the typical campus couple routine. Study dates in the library, lunch in the quad. He would post these staged photos with captions about discovering unexpected affection, making me want to hurl my phone. But Maya looked off in every picture, her smile not reaching her eyes. The same expression she had when she couldn't grasp electron movement. 2 weeks passed. Finals approached like an oncoming train. I was surviving on Red Bull. Then Ralph texted. He had located the phone. It contained about 200 photos from that party. My heart pounded as I scrolled through them. Blurry shots of red cups and awkward dancing. Then I found it. The photo Jake possessed was cropped. In the full version, Jake was visible next to me, holding the joint out, his face clearly discernible. And in the background, a timestamp visible on someone's laptop, 2:47 a.m. I cross-referenced with my calendar. I had organic chemistry at 8 a.m. that morning. I had tweeted about it, complaining about the early class timestamp 7:45 a.m. No way I was intoxicated 5 hours after that photo and coherent enough to tweet about electron configurations. Plus, the complete photo showed Jake as the one actually holding the substances. He had cropped himself out to implicate me. I saved everything to 3 different cloud services, emailed copies to myself, even printed hard copies because I was paranoid. But I still needed more. Jake was cunning. He would have backups, probably more incriminating information. I needed to be strategic. I started spending time with his social circle, engaging in casual conversations, fishing for details. It turned out Jake had a pattern. His ex from freshman year, Brenda, mentioned he had attempted something similar, spreading rumors about her infidelity when she tried to end their relationship, claiming he had photos. She had remained with him for an additional month out of fear before realizing he was bluffing. Another girl, Heather, said he had threatened to inform her very religious parents about her tattoo. They would have disowned her. She had been forced to tutor him in statistics for an entire semester to keep him quiet. I was beginning to discern a pattern. I contacted both of them, explaining what was happening with Maya. Brenda immediately agreed to help, still enraged by her own experience. Heather was more hesitant but consented to support me if necessary. We initiated a group chat, comparing notes, constructing a timeline of Jake's manipulation. Then Maya messaged me out of the blue. "Can we meet? Urgent." My heart nearly stopped. Jake had probably seen us conversing at the food bank. Was he escalating? I agreed to meet her at a 24-hour diner off campus, reducing the chance of Jake appearing. She looked exhausted, her hair unwashed, dark circles under her eyes. She slid into the booth and immediately asked if Jake was coercing me. No pretense, just direct. I tried to deflect, but she pulled out her phone and showed me messages from Jake. He had become increasingly controlling, demanding to know her whereabouts every minute, going through her phone, classic manipulative tactics escalating. She said she had tried to break up with him. He had lost control, started shouting about how she owed him, how he had saved her from wasting time on a loser like me. Then he had let slip something about keeping me in line, ensuring I knew my place. That's when she knew for certain he had something on me. I finally gave in, showed her the photo, explained the scholarship situation, the morality clause, how one substance violation would end my medical career before it began. Her face darkened in a way I had never witnessed. The girl who cried over accidentally stepping on a snail looked capable of extreme action. She asked if I had the full photo. When I showed her Ralph's version with Jake clearly visible, she smiled. Not a pleasant smile, the kind that made me grateful she was on my side. She said she had an idea but needed a few days. She made me promise not to do anything until she gave the signal. Those few days were agonizing. Jake continued to push boundaries, showing up at my study spots with Maya, making remarks about how well they suited each other, how she had finally found someone worth her time. Maya played along, but I could see her jaw clenching. The girl deserved an award. Then Thursday night she texted, "Tomorrow be ready." Friday morning I was trembling with nervous energy. I didn't know what Maya had planned, but I trusted her. She was more intelligent than both Jake and me combined. If anyone could resolve this predicament, it was her. I was in the library when it began. Maya walked in with Jake. They sat at a table near mine, close enough to overhear but not conspicuously so. Jake was discussing summer plans, suggesting they take a trip together. Maya nodded along. Then she dropped the bombshell. She mentioned how thoughtful it was that he had helped her plan asking me out, how he had picked out the sundresses, helped her bake the cookies. Jake's face froze. He tried to deflect, but Maya kept pressing, her voice innocent, as if genuinely confused about the timeline. But then you said those screenshots were real. Were you lying when you helped me? Or when you showed me those messages? Jake began to stammer, trying to explain, but every excuse dug him deeper. Maya continued asking innocent questions. When exactly had he taken those screenshots? Why hadn't he shown them to her earlier if he knew? How did he happen to have them ready right when she was planning to confess? People were beginning to stare. Jake's voice grew louder, more defensive. Maya remained calm, continuing her questions. Then she pulled out her phone, stating she wanted to check the dates on those screenshots, compare them to their tutoring schedule. Jake lunged for her phone. Poor decision. Why can't I see them? If they're real, what's the issue? Jake was perspiring now, issuing threats about how she didn't know who she was dealing with, how he could ruin both of us. That's when Maya smiled again, that dangerous smile. Like you tried to ruin your ex, Brenda? Or when you blackmailed Heather? Jake turned white. Maya had done her research. She began enumerating every person he had manipulated, every threat he had made. People were definitely observing now, recording on their phones. Jake attempted to leave, but Maya wasn't finished. She stood up and announced to the entire library that Jake had photoshopped fake messages to break us up, that he had manipulated her into dating him, that he was currently coercing me with an altered photograph. Her voice resonated across the silent library. Jake lost control, began screaming about the photo, how I was a substance user, how he had proof. He pulled out his phone, waving it around, showing the cropped photo to anyone who would look, yelling about morality clauses and scholarships, essentially confessing to blackmail in front of 50 witnesses. That's when I stood up, pulled out my phone, and projected Ralph's full photo onto the library wall using the presentation setup. There was Jake, clear as day, holding the joint, the timestamp visible. The murmur from the crowd was immediate. But Maya wasn't done. She had recorded Jake admitting to the fake screenshots, had him on audio confessing to photoshopping them, planning the entire scheme. She played it on speaker. Jake's own voice echoed through the library, talking about protecting me from her, how he deserved her more, how I would never make a move so he had to. The crowd quickly turned hostile. People started recognizing Jake, recalling their own strange interactions with him. Someone mentioned how he had threatened to leak their group project if they didn't complete his portion. Another person brought up how he had spread rumors about them. Jake attempted damage control, stammering about context, how he didn't understand, but the evidence was overwhelming. The full photo, the audio confession, multiple witnesses to his blackmail attempts. He had trapped himself. Then campus security arrived. Someone had called about the disturbance. They tried to disperse the crowd, but Maya stepped forward, calm as could be. She explained that Jake had been making threats, showed them his messages about ruining my scholarship. The security guard's expression changed. Blackmail was a serious accusation. They escorted Jake outside to hear his version. We could see him through the windows, gesturing wildly, pointing at us, but without the cropped photo as leverage, his story crumbled, especially when Brenda and Heather appeared. They had been waiting outside, came forward with their own experiences. 3 separate blackmail attempts, a pattern of behavior. Security called in their supervisor. By afternoon, it had escalated to the dean of students. It turned out the university took a very dim view of students threatening each other's scholarships, particularly with photoshopped evidence. Jake tried to play the victim, but the audio silenced him. His own voice admitting to creating fake screenshots, manipulating another student, threatening academic consequences. Maya had anticipated everything. She had consulted with a campus legal aid before confronting him, made sure to do it in a public space, got him to confess on recording, even had witnesses prepared. The girl played chess while Jake was playing checkers. The investigation was swift. The full photo cleared me of any wrongdoing. Being in the vicinity of someone else holding substances wasn't a violation, especially when I could prove I was in class 5 hours later. The timestamp saved me. But Jake's confession to blackmail, that was a clear honor code violation. Using manipulated evidence to threaten another student's academic standing. He tried to withdraw from school before they could expel him, thinking it would look better on his record, but the damage was done. Word spread rapidly. His social circle abandoned him. His parents discovered the truth when the school contacted them about the investigation. It turned out they were significant donors and were not pleased their son was using their money to coerce classmates. Maya officially ended their relationship during the investigation, doing it publicly in the same cafe where he had taken her for their first date. She told him she had only dated him to gather evidence of his manipulation, that every moment had been about collecting proof. The look on his face was priceless, as if his brain couldn't process being outmaneuvered. She had screenshotted every controlling message, documented every red flag, built a case as if she were studying for finals. When she presented the evidence file, even I was impressed. The girl had receipts for everything. Times he had checked her phone, messages where he had isolated her from friends, the escalating control, all dated and organized. The best part was when she revealed she had been recording their conversations. Every threat, every manipulation tactic, every time he had mentioned keeping me in line, she had been using a recording application on her phone, legal in our state for personal protection. Jake had essentially created evidence against himself every time he spoke. His expulsion was finalized within 2 weeks, the fastest I had ever seen the administration move. I suppose when you threaten the scholarship system that keeps donors content, they take it seriously. Plus, the evidence was overwhelming. Multiple victims, a clear pattern, recorded confessions. Even his academic record showed inconsistencies, grades that jumped suspiciously in classes where he had found leverage over tutors. I maintained my scholarship. The review board cleared me completely, even apologizing for the stress. They stated they were reviewing their policies, making it harder for students to weaponize the morality clause. What Jake had done exposed flaws in their system. They were grateful we had brought it to light. Maya and I began dating officially a month later. No more uncertainty, no more games. Just two people who had survived something terrible together. Our first real date was uneventful. Coffee and studying, but it was ours. No manipulation, no hidden agendas, just us. The trial lasted 6 months. Jake pleaded guilty to avoid incarceration, receiving probation, community service, and a criminal record that would follow him indefinitely. He had to pay restitution to the victims he had extorted. His parents' wealth couldn't shield him from consequences this time. We all testified at the sentencing, 19 victims explaining how Jake had impacted our lives. The fear, the isolation, the way he had made us doubt ourselves. The judge listened intently to every word, stating it was one of the worst cases of peer manipulation she had witnessed. She gave him the maximum possible sentence. Jake attempted to apologize during his statement, claiming he had been insecure, felt powerless, used control to feel important. Classic manipulation, even in his apology portraying himself as the victim. The judge silenced him, stating that taking accountability meant more than words. It meant accepting consequences. After court, all 19 of us went for drinks, legal ones, celebrated surviving, supporting each other, refusing to remain silent. What had started as Jake trying to control us had ended with us reclaiming power together as a community. The university utilized our case as a teaching moment, creating new programs about recognizing manipulation, reporting blackmail, supporting victims, making it clear that what Jake did wasn't typical college drama. It was criminal and would not be tolerated. Maya and I graduated together. She was accepted into her dream PhD program. I started medical school. We continued dating through it all. Distance, stress, insane hours. Nothing compared to what we had already endured. Jake had tried to break us before we even began. Instead, he had made us stronger. Sometimes I reflect on that night I almost surrendered, almost let him win, kept his secrets out of fear. If Maya hadn't pushed, if she hadn't been braver than me, if those other victims hadn't come forward, Jake would still be out there, still controlling people, still ruining lives. These days, I receive messages from current students, young people dealing with their own Jakes. I always respond, always help, because someone helped me, many someones. And that's how you stop predators. Not alone, but together with evidence and courage, and by refusing to be silent. Jake now works in retail. Someone spotted him at an electronics store in his hometown, wearing a name tag, earning minimum wage. His LinkedIn profile states he's taking a gap year, but we all know the truth. No university will accept him. No legitimate job will hire him. He played foolish games and earned foolish rewards. Meanwhile, the 19 of us are thriving. Doctors, lawyers, teachers, scientists, all the futures Jake tried to steal. We have a group chat, check in sometimes, share successes, support struggles, bond over surviving the same predator. A strange foundation for friendship, but it works. Maya is now researching cancer-related substances, saving actual lives. I'm in my residency, exhausted but content. We're planning our wedding. A small ceremony, just close friends and family. The people who genuinely support us, who stood by us, who helped us fight back. Brenda is a victim advocate. Heather runs a nonprofit. Sarah coaches children with anxiety. Paul is in law school. We all derive different lessons from Jake, but we all learned the same thing. Silence protects predators. Speaking up protects everyone else. The new students don't know the complete story, just campus legend now. The student who tried to blackmail half the school and was destroyed. They joke about it, create memes, transform Jake into a cautionary tale. Good. Let his legacy be a warning. Attempt to control people and lose everything. I kept one photograph from that period, not the substance one. The one of Maya's handwriting in Jake's notebook. Proof that she had been assisting him while he plotted against us. A reminder that predators conceal themselves behind friendly facades. That help can be weaponized. That trust should be earned, not freely given. But mostly it reminds me of Maya. How she transformed Jake's weapon into evidence. How she fought for truth when I was ready to surrender. How she saved us both with chemistry notes and chocolate chip cookies. The girl failed organic chemistry twice but succeeded where it truly mattered. The cookies remain our tradition. Every anniversary, every milestone, every triumph over adversity, she bakes and I eat. We remember how close we came to never happening, how one manipulative jerk almost won, how we won instead. My scholarship covered everything. Undergraduate, medical school, no debt, no obligations. The future Jake tried to steal, handed to me freely and clearly. Sometimes karma truly works. Sometimes the good people prevail. Sometimes speaking truth overcomes keeping secrets. These days, when people inquire how Maya and I met, we keep it simple. Chemistry tutoring. Let them believe it's charming. A nerdy love story. They don't require the full account. The blackmail, the investigation, the trial, the way we dismantled a predator together. Some stories are better left incomplete.